Welcome to The Quest. I'm Halford E. Jones, and with me today are Edwina Dean and Lynn Marie Sante, and we're here to discuss ancient and alternative healing therapies, focusing on Tong Ren therapy. And first of all, before we get into that, I'd like to ask each of you to explain and relate how you became acquainted with these therapies and what led you to delve into them further, and about some of your activities and experiences you've had over the years. And I'll start with Edwina, please.
Okay, thank you. I first started going into alternative medicines back in '93. I had some family members that became sick, and the first one that I went into was Reiki, and after that I went into IET. I became a reverend in a healing fellowship, and just followed with magnified healing, a lot of different things, Tong Ren. I was first introduced to Tong Ren back in 2004. A friend of a relative had a severe problem with a daughter that was terminal. She was in the hospital, and they felt that she wouldn't make it, and she had taken the Tong Ren class and everything. This friend's daughter was in the hospital, and they felt as though she was dying. So my friend immediately called Tom, who developed this program, and he said, well, go in and put the phone over by her. So she went in and put the phone over by her, and she did recover and was moved into another room and slowly recovered. So I began to realize that there was a lot to this, and a lot of positive things. So I went to a couple of his classes that he holds, and decided right away that I wanted to become a practitioner. So I became a practitioner back in 2005, and I've gone to many classes that they run, and I also run my own classes now with Lynn. We run it at the Sugar River Savings Bank. The Lake Sunapee Savings Bank in New London on the third Sunday of every month from 1 to 2. And we're also looking at a place up in the Upper Valley that we're going to be running classes as soon as we get permission.
Okay, excuse me, I have that same problem with banks also, trying to get the names straight because there's so many and they're always changing their names. Right. I wanted to ask you, what does IET mean? Integrated Energy
Therapy. It's a therapy that's similar to the Reiki, although you work with the angels and stuff.
I see. You mentioned Tom Tam, and I think later we'll discuss him and how he developed this. But he is the originator of the Tong Ren's healing therapy. Is that correct?
Yes, he is. Yeah.
Okay, and Lynn, could we hear from you now?
Absolutely, thank you. I started back in the 80s being interested in alternative things because of a lot of health issues that I was having. And Reiki was the first modality that I was introduced to as well. And with doing Reiki 1 and Reiki 2, I had to move on and then teach it. So I just kept moving ahead. I also did IET, the energy therapy, did some EFT. Also became, as Edwina had said, a reverend in a hands-on healing church. And then I went on to become an NGH certified hypnotist and specializing in hypnobirthing. I was also certified as a hypnobirther. And also, Tong Ren just really interested me because of the first experience I had. Edwina had been after me many times to watch it on the internet because Tom has leads going all the time, and then he has live classes you can listen to. Finally, I said, okay, I'll do it. So I came over to her house one night and listened for plantar fasciitis was my issue. And I listened online, and all of a sudden you hear him say plantar fasciitis, and I'm paying attention and my foot started burning. Here he is in Massachusetts, and I'm in New Hampshire, and I'm looking at it over the computer. Well, needless to say, I was sold.
I see.
So I also became a practitioner as well.
Okay, so what is this condition? Would you pronounce it again? It's difficult for me to pronounce it.
Plantar fasciitis.
Plantar fasciitis.
Correct. It's an inflammation of the large tendon or tissue that connects the toes to the heel, and it's usually right in the arch. And I was getting shots on a monthly basis for that condition, and I've never received a shot or had any problems since then.
I see. Now, it's interesting that you've taken up hypnosis. Is there a certification for being a hypnotist, and obviously is for hypnobirthing, I presume? Mm-hmm. Would you talk about that just for a moment?
I'd be happy to, thank you. In order to be a hypnotist, I am certified with the NGH, which is the National Guild of Hypnosis, and I did have to attend 100 hours of classes and take a written exam and an oral exam in order to become a hypnotist. Then when I decided that I wanted to get into something a little bit different but still using that talent, I did have to attend classes to become a certified hypnobirther, which actually what that is that I teach birthing classes to expectant parents or mothers and partners, and help them to go through their labor and their deliveries with less pain in a much more calm, natural way.
I see. In regards to hypnosis, I think that people don't really understand how it works, and there's a lot of misconceptions about it. Is it purely just a matter of suggestion, or is it a procedure in which people become, let's say, put into a trance or a spell or something like the popular belief seems to be?
That's an interesting question, and I probably would have about 5 or 6 different answers for you, so I'll give you just a little combination. The word trance usually scares most people. So the way I usually describe to people is if you're driving down the road and all of a sudden you're home and you don't know how you got there, that's road hypnosis. So there are a lot of little tricks that we can use. It's power of suggestion. It's also you allowing us to get you to a place that's very relaxed and allowing your conscious mind to go to the back and allowing your subconscious to come to the forefront. And then we can put suggestions in there that you have asked us to plant so that they will continue.
I see. Do you work with psychologists, perhaps, using hypnosis in some of their therapies, or has this never occurred to you or happened?
I personally do not. There are some people who are psychologists and hypnotists, so they can do both together. I've never been asked in on anything like that, so I have not had the experience.
So getting back to Reiki now, you said you were level 1 and 2, or are you higher level now?
I am actually a master teacher, but once I did 1 and 2, it just made me keep going, and I haven't stopped since.
And
I'm
how
a
many
master
degrees
teacher.
are there?
I'm a master teacher too. That's the highest. You usually do 3 levels and then the master teacher.
Okay, and if I understand correctly, Reiki started in Japan and based on perhaps some other Oriental or Asian healing therapies, and then it became sort of like a school or a group, and then I think it diverged into 2 separate groups, an Orthodox group perhaps, and an unorthodox group, and maybe some other eclectic groups.
Yes.
So what is your feeling on that, and how do they actually proceed? Do they touch the person? Do they do it from a distance? How do they heal?
You can do it anyways. You can do it hands-on or hands-off, or you can do it distance. Myself, I've taken both traditional and non-traditional, and I think I combine the 2 of them when I work. When I teach with Lynn, and we give certifications in one of them. However, we do tell everyone that there are different non-traditional and traditional, and we explain the differences so that they have an idea of which one they would be more interested.
Right.
And I've taken many level 1 classes, many level 2, and 3 classes. I've taken a 4th class, and then also a master teacher. So I bring all of that with me when I teach, and Lynn has had many classes in it too, and she also brings that in, and we've kind of developed our own method of teaching.
Yeah, my first and second level were purely traditional, which all you do is Reiki. Your hand positions are exactly as they're specified. We have symbols that we work with. You only work with those symbols. You do nothing else. I then decided that I thought that was really great and it was a good foundation, but I wanted to learn more. And so I did my third level and my master teacher level with a non-traditional teacher, which allowed me to be able to see the other side of it. Again, like Edwina, we've decided that when we do teach, we do say, this is the traditional, this is the non-traditional. We're teaching you both so that you have the option. You are going to be certified in your Reiki 1 traditional, but you can do now all of it together.
All of it together. Now, in Reiki, is it a transference of energy, or just exactly how does it work? In other words, do people feel sensations when you give them a treatment, or do they feel nothing? What is the general response?
With energy work, people feel energy in different ways. Some people don't feel any energy at all. Some people feel it as a tingling. Some people feel it as a heat. It depends upon the individual receiving it, I believe.
I see.
Yeah, and I think what we basically are is we're the channel of the energy. Right. We take the energy that's passed through us to give a Reiki treatment. We at the same time are getting a Reiki treatment because the energy passes through us.
I see. So it's a benefit to you to give those treatments as well as the person receiving them.
It's like if you take and drink milk out of a straw, the straw has a residue of milk in it. So as that energy comes through, well, like the straw, we get that residue of the energy in us as it passes through.
So that's a bit different from a lot of, or some therapies where you might absorb negative qualities or energies from the person you're treating under certain things, and you would try to draw that out of them and leave a more positive energy in them. And in some cases you might absorb some of the negative, but this one there's no negative energies in it.
No, and one of the things that I know that both of us always do is that anytime we do any healing work on anyone, we always ask for it to be their highest good. So they may come to us saying, I have a sore shoulder. So we say, okay, that's great. We choose at that point whether we're going to do a full treatment and do the entire body with all the hand positions or not, because we have so many different tools in our toolbox, we sometimes intermingle things. But we know that if the shoulder problem is really not a shoulder problem and it's caused by the neck, that Reiki is going to go to where the energy is needed. And it's going to heal the issue because that's the highest good for that person. So we're not the healers, we're the channelers.
Right, we allow the person's body to heal itself. We're there as a facilitator to help that. Everything is energy. There's energy all around us. So what we're looking for is that energy to go into you to facilitate your body to heal itself, because everybody's body can heal itself.
Now coming to Tong Ren, if I understand correctly, Tong Ren is based on TCM, which is traditional Chinese medicine, and it uses acupuncture. It's based on the meridians, on the various acupuncture points, and also involves perhaps some other exercise things. Would you explain how this differs from Reiki and why you decided to, or if you do, pursue this more than the other healing therapies?
Well, the other healing therapy is more of a one-on-one or a distance healing, whereas with the Tong Ren therapy, how he developed it, he's a certified acupuncturist and a Qigong master, and has a lot of different hats that he wears. What he's developed, this is so anyone can do it. If you ask him, you know, can I learn how to do that, Tom? He'll say, oh yeah, monkey see, monkey do. It's just a matter of copying what he actually does. There's, like I said, there's energy in everything, and what this does is it pulls from the collective unconsciousness of everybody, so that when he first started this, it might take a while for people to really get a benefit from them. And now, because there's so many people throughout the world, when we tap, it's bringing in all that energy from everywhere, so that the benefits are just unbelievable.
Well, let me interrupt you a minute and ask you something. When you say he, who is he?
Tom Tam, who was the originator of this. He originally started developing it probably 20 or more years ago. He started with classes that he called the guinea pig classes, and we have to honor that name because in Chinese culture, once you name something, if it's successful, you have to keep the same name. How he developed it, he was an acupuncturist, and he was with someone and was unable to give them a treatment one particular day. So he had some little pins, and he had a doll, the little doll that we use, and he was putting the pins in there, and the person was actually feeling the energy, and they received a healing from it. So he thought, well, if that can work, we'll do that. So when he first started his guinea pig classes, he did it with the little pins, but because there's always a safety issue with that and stuff, he developed this hammer, which we use, and it has a magnetic end on it, which is the one that we use, and we tap on the doll in those meridians or the acupressure points, and that's and you can feel it in your body. Some people feel it, some people don't feel anything, some people feel tingling, some people feel heat.
Well, let me interrupt you again. Have either of you had a treatment with acupuncture yourself? Have you experienced acupuncture? You have.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And how many sessions did you have, or do you recall? I mean, did you have one session? Did you have several?
Yeah, I went into treatment for about a year with acupuncture.
With,
not with Tom.
Not with Tom, with another,
another
person.
Yeah,
and how about you?
Person.
I actually had one treatment and found great relief, and followed up with 1 or 2 appointments, and then went back maybe 6 months later for sort of a reboost. So I have had the treatment before and found it to be extremely effective.
Effective, I see. So now you're telling me that by using, what did you call this?
It's a doll.
A doll, okay.
With the points marked out on it, and they're both in Chinese and English.
Oh, and so...
It has all the meridian points.
And what are the meridians?
The different energy vessels throughout your body and stuff. And most diseases or most issues that people have are caused by a blockage somewhere in these points. So what we're doing by tapping on them is we're releasing that blockage and allowing the energy to flow to help the body regenerate and repair itself.
I see. So essentially, you're not acupuncturists per se.
No,
you don't really
I'm
practice.
not even a medical person. Tom has, with the doll, he has a small book, and it's in Chinese and English, and it has all the points written down. But I wanted to, I had a number of calls asking me about sessions up in this area, and there was nothing up in this area. So in order to develop it, Lynn and I worked together, and she did most of the work as far as printing stuff out and typing it. But what we did was we reproduced his small book and made it into a large book for us, so that we could.
Chart of this,
yeah, I
so
can.
people
I
can
can
see
take
exactly
a piece of paper out.
Demonstrating
So
here.
we took each individual issue. This happens to be lung problems.
I see.
And what we did is there's main points that you tap on, and there's support points that you tap on. So we have them listed at the top so we can call them out, and we immediately can identify them so that we're not tapping on the wrong points or not looking for the point and taking a lot of time. So if you come in and you say that you have lung problems, what we'll do is we'll call out these points and we'll tap on them.
I see.
And so we have main points and support points. And so if we had, let's say, 50 people and we wanted to get through them all and give each of them a treatment or a session at our guinea pig class, we could just hit the main points and they would get whatever they need from that.
And using these charts alone, or
We
you
do.
have to
We
use,
tap on the
We
dolls.
tap on the doll.
you tap on
Yeah.
the doll, but you
Yes.
We use that as a reference. In
As a
other words,
reference,
when we look at that, we'll look at the point so that we know exactly where the point is that we're tapping on it. Like the first one is the T3. If we didn't know where the T3 was, we can look at the picture and tap. So you could come up and take a doll and follow
could do
these
the same
points with
thing.
us if you wanted to.
So you really don't have any physical contact with the
None at all.
persons who are
Correct.
requesting this treatment or this therapy, but and you don't necessarily have to know specifically, do you, what their problem is if you're covering, unless they tell you and
Right.
want that. But in general, if there was a group of people here who just came and wanted to find out what it would do, and they didn't want to tell you what was wrong, but you went through the
Well, we have a lot of people that say that they're just a driver. In other words, they came with someone else. But while you're sitting in the room and we're tapping on everybody's issues, they also get a benefit of the healing. They're getting the benefit of everything that we tap on. So if there's 10 people there and we're tapping on 5 different issues, all those 10 people get benefit of those 5 different issues.
Right. So we always ask every person, what would you like us to work on? If someone said, oh, they name off 6 or 7 items, we need 1 item. And what we do is we then find it. We have under lung, heart, circulatory, bone, ear, eye, hormonal, men problems, children's problems, women's problems, and we go into that particular territory in our book under that particular tab. And at that point, we would tap on those meridians that we're told to tap on. Main points and support points, and as Edwina had stated, anyone in the room that has the same problem or even anything related, there's so many points that are similar on so many different items that we may be tapping in the cervical spine and the thoracic spine being anywhere from C whatever down to T whatever. And as we're tapping on those, it could be affecting someone else who's having arm problems. And basically we tell everybody to sit with their legs uncrossed and their arms uncrossed to allow the energy to move through them and just have an open mind.
Yeah, that's why sometimes when you're involved in various groups and you're wondering, and you don't want to be influenced, you cross your arms and your legs,
Right.
and they can't.
It's to block that
do
energy
anything,
coming in.
But it's all so good to let your circulation flow without impeding it. The other thing is that some of these lines or meridians correspond to specific organs, do they not?
They
like
do.
the lung line, the liver
The
line,
kidney,
the heart line.
everything.
Gallbladder, kidney.
Right.
And of course, we all know how intricate the spine is.
Yes.
And so we can be working on the spine, tapping anywhere on there for so many different areas. If I was a doctor, I probably could say, oh yes, when I'm looking at C2, it's going to affect blah, 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 blah. I'm not a doctor, so I just tap
And
when
some
he
of the
tells me.
practitioners have gone in and studied, some of them are acupuncturists, so they know all these
They
different
know-
medical things. We don't. We're just doing this to
You're
try
just
and help
doing the
out someone in this
practice.
area.
Yeah.
We always refer them back to Tom's website. We have many friends up here that have actually gone down and they go to the sessions down where Tom is in the different locations, or some of the other practitioners.
So then my next question is, why use a magnetic hammer? Why does a hammer have to be magnetic? Can't I just use any hammer, any little mallet, any object like a little stick or a wooden dowel to...
I think the theory of it, and I don't really know for sure, but I think the theory of it is magnetic in energy.
Because the body has magnetic,
I see.
Has magnetic properties through it.
so therefore magnetic on our doll would make energy move. Tom designed the hammer. That's what he teaches us to use as practitioners. Therefore, we use what he has trained us to use. The other thing that we have established ourselves is a take-home kit. And what we do is we send someone home with whatever issue they have. We send them home with one of these that we filled out. At that point, we also have little glass beads, and you place this on a flat surface and put the beads
Yes,
down.
I noticed the glass beads over there.
Over on the table.
Could
Yeah.
you show how that works?
Okay, what we've done here is we have
You
the
could stand right up there with it. and
the
put it
sheet,
in.
and we send them home with a little bag, and they take the glass beads and they put them on those points and just leave them there. And that way they're getting a 24-hour treatment. And for as long as that's set up, they continue to get a treatment on
I
that.
thought he was going to get the thing.
So basically what that does is we start the treatment when we're at the guinea pig class, and then they go home with their kit and place it somewhere where it won't be disturbed, and they continue to get the treatment. The other options they have is to have a doll, and they can use a laser, and when you turn the laser on, you point to whatever point is on the doll, and that can be left on overnight, 24 hours a day, until your batteries run out and you keep placing them.
And you would do that on the main point or the out
So
point.
you can use a laser instead of a hammer
Correct.
to achieve the same
Yes.
results.
Yeah.
Yes.
So actually, all of the therapies that are, again, being used in Tong Ren at this moment are touch,
Invasive.
no touch, and
they're
they also can be
non-invasive.
done from a distance. In
Yes.
other words, a distance healing.
Yeah.
And I just want to interject something here. You may know. And what you're saying might bear out some of the things in here. This is the latest Science Illustrated magazine, and they have down here, a teenager discovers the secret of acupuncture. And what they're claiming here is that the needles in acupuncture, when they're placed in the skin, release an enzyme called adenosine,
Yep.
kind of secretion there. So, but what you're saying is that you get the same effect without having to use needles.
Exactly.
And
Yep.
perhaps that in some way releases it, but we don't know. It would have to be further studies on that.
Well, a lot of
probably.
times, like in the acupuncture and stuff, they have the moxibustion that they put on the end of the needles and stuff, and that's supposed to drive that heat more into your body and stuff. There's many, many different ways. However, this is non-invasive. It's hands-off. Years ago, they started with a phone-in thing. You would call a telephone number, and somebody at the other end of the line would be doing a tapping, and so many people would go, and they had so many healings, and Tom was just mystified. All he could think of was maybe it's the energy in the phone lines that's causing these people with these just remarkable results. And then they started with the doing it where they film it, where it's on the internet. You can type in and go on there and see an actual session with Tom or many of the other wonderful practitioners that they have, and you actually feel, a lot of people feel the results. Some people don't. I don't feel anything when I sit through a session. I don't feel any energy. However, I have had many things. I was on oxygen for a couple of years. I was on high blood pressure medication. I'm off of those totally. I don't depend on them. I still have, you know, COPD and stuff. However, I don't need the oxygen daily like I needed it before.
Well, one of the things that energy work has as a staple is that usually every disease or every condition is caused by a blockage. So if we can move the energy around and unblock that particular location, that's going to help to let the body heal itself.
Oh, I see.
Now, one of the most recent, in January, we went down to a Tong Ren guinea pig class, and I decided to have them work on my whiplash. I had whiplash injury from about 17 years ago. I've been on medication for that amount of time. I was told I would be on that medication for the rest of my life. So I thought, oh well, let's try it. Fixed my foot. I have no problem with this. Let's try it. So I talked to him, and he started tapping. And within a couple of moments, the spot that I had, which is on the back of my head and the right side, started burning like a hot poker. It was just really, really hot, and it was almost to the point of uncomfortable. And I'm like, okay, the energy's flowing. This is good. And I just kind of moved with it. I always feel energy as opposed to Edwina. By the time that we got done, I was told that I would not need my medication any longer, and that I could be tapped on a few more times if I wanted to, but I would be fine. Well, I always go open-minded, but I'm a little bit of a skeptic, even though I know how wonderful it's been.
Yeah.
I've been 17 years or longer on this medication. Without it, when I skipped it once or twice by accident, I'd have a horrible headache and I couldn't function, so it was really kind of a little nervous to stop.
Hard for him to take that final belief or that final dive.
I said it's something I would not recommend people to do. I would recommend that they contact their doctor first, because I worked for the doctor when he treated me. I remembered that we very, very gradually increased my medicine, so I took 3 weeks to decrease it. Since March, I have not had a medical pill for that at all, and I have not had any pain. So my whiplash injury is now gone, and I have no pain, and I'm not on my medication any longer. So again, you know, every once in a while you need to be sold again. It just makes me want to tap for everybody a lot more.
Well, I just want to say that this article doesn't say anything negative about acupuncture. Just to quote, they say there's documented positive effects in relief of back pain, neck pain,
Oh, very definitely.
headaches, migraines, nausea, and vomiting after surgery. And they said it's possibly effective for osteoarthritis, menstrual pain, facilitator of in vitro fertilization.
Right.
And it has, according to this, no effect or there's insufficient research on asthma, cocaine addiction, depression, epilepsy.
It is true.
schizophrenia,
It all
arthritis,
does
dementia.
the same thing. We just do it hands off. They're doing it with a needle.
Right.
Some people are petrified of needles, so this would be a perfect alternative for them. And some people are going to look at this and say, I'm not going to sit there in a chair while someone taps on this doll. That's foolish. And they want to go to an acupuncturist
Well, you see,
or a doctor.
what they consider in this article is that there may be a possibility to increase the efficiency of acupuncture per se, so to release more of this, if in fact that chemical in your skin actually does inhibit pain or works on the pain, relieves it in some way, and there may be a way to increase that flow, if in fact that is it.
Well, I know
But what I want to say is that your therapy, however, doesn't rely on perhaps stimulating the skin to get that flow. Yours, because you're not touching the skin, you're not manipulating the person in any way, like for example in chiropractic or some other healing like that. So you have a different method, and it seems to be effective for people.
Why don't we do a demonstration and
Okay.
show you
Yeah,
what
that
we
would be nice.
would
Yeah,
normally
I'd
do?
like that.
I just wanted to say a couple of things. The acupuncture is wonderful, and I know a lot of places they're using it in place of anesthesia for people that have a problem with anesthesia when they're doing surgery and stuff. So it does work wonderful. And we do have on Tom's website a video of a student that did a test. He had 2 test tubes with cancer cells in it. And he took one test tube out of the room every day. I think he did it for about 3 days and tapped on it. And in that 3-day period, he turned all those cancer cells in that one tube into healthy cells.
Yes. Of course, I think probably what a lot of physicians might say is, well, is there any real proof that that was actually what happened? Maybe there was some other thing responsible for it. I know they're going to look for
Of
that.
course
They're
they are.
not going to...
Well, the other thing is we have a doctor out of Massachusetts that's written a 4 or 5 page letter, so that if you're undergoing this treatment and also seeing a regular doctor, he wants you to take this letter to your doctor, because we don't say don't see your doctor. We want you to do whatever you need to do to start the healing process. And this is a letter from this doctor that kind of explains to the other physician or your physician what this Tong Ren actually does, so that you can use both of them in conjunction with each other. And there's also, Tom writes a lot of books, and he does poetry and stuff like that. And there's also a neurosurgeon down in Boston that had a family member that had some issues, and he started going to the classes too. And he's also written a thing in one of Tom's books about the good results that he's had. And Tom does these sessions at Spalding Rehab in Boston. The neurosurgeon is from Spalding, I believe, and has asked him to come in. He now does a second class there. And also he works with a lot of the doctors and nurses from Dana-Farber.
So do you recommend that a person have physical examinations by physicians to see how their
Definitely.
progress is coming?
Definitely.
And not strictly rely on how they feel
Right.
or the results of what
Right.
they're doing in this
Right.
class?
And Tom always asks somebody, you know, you're going through chemo or you're going through radiation, what did your MRI show? What did your CAT scan show? What are your the pointers or there's markers and stuff in cancer and stuff like that. He's had some wonderful results that people had stage 4 cancers that there was no hope left. They had already done radiation, had already done chemotherapy, went all through the drug trials, and they've actually gotten relief and they're cancer-free now.
Now you
One of the
mentioned a
things
letter.
one of the things as a practitioner is that we don't ever say do this in lieu of medical care, and we never diagnose anything.
Right.
I see.
We are a practitioner to help to work on the meridians and help to take care of blockages and let the energy flow so your body can heal itself. We would never get involved in that. We would never say to stop seeing a doctor.
I mean, certainly we want to know what their progress is because we're interested in that, but definitely this is complementary to complement whatever medicine they are doing. Some people want to do just this, some people want to do both, and some people just want to go the surgical route, and that's fine.
I see. So the letter that you were telling me about where they can show that to their physician and so forth, and the physician, does the physician sign that, or no, he just looks at it?
No, that's just a letter from this doctor explaining what this person's doing for alternatives so that the doctor that they're seeing is aware that they are using alternatives also.
Oh, I see.
And you can print that right off of Tom's website.
And you can take that to your doctor. Say I had a condition, I thought I needed something, and I needed also confirmation from my doctor. And now suppose I go to my doctor and he tells me, well, that's nonsense, or I don't believe it, and I don't want you doing it, and you take this. What should I do in that case?
You're going to do whatever you feel like doing.
Okay. We're not going to direct you.
No. Yep. If you feel as though your doctor's right and he doesn't want you to do anything, then you stop doing any alternatives.
We're still rolling. We're going to stick to a half hour, or do you want to just keep going?
Yeah, I think we'll keep going if we can.
Just remember at about 25 after, we have to cut this part out right here that we're talking about.
Yes.
Okay. We'll do that. We have a couple more things.
You know, if you want to continue doing the alternative, you can do whatever you want. If you want to go by what your doctor says, you know, that's up to you. It's your body, and you have the right to use whatever methods and theories or whatever that you feel that's going to bring the health that you need for yourself. You're not, I mean, you know, a doctor isn't God. We're not God. And who knows what's going to work for you, you know?
Well, now can I raise another question here, which is in the back of my mind? And you might be able to say with more authority than perhaps what skeptics or other people might say. Could this way of therapy actually be a form of suggestions, I mean, and a type of, not exactly traditional hypnosis, but a way of inducing certain hypnotic states or conditions in people by saying, well, if we tap on these points, it may alleviate this condition, or it may improve, or you don't have to say that. We'll do this, and we're trying to do this, and you just tell me or tell us if there's if you feel anything, or if you feel improved or whatever. What do you think about that?
Well, I've been at different sessions where somebody has said, oh, I have this problem with my shoulder, and I have this problem with my foot, and I have another problem with my stomach, and Tom has started tapping. And they say, oh, I can feel that in my foot. Well, how do they know that he wasn't going to start with the shoulder first?
Yeah, I see.
Because a lot of them are the same points. So, I mean, I've seen that many times where they know from their body where it actually is going.
I see.
I
So
think there's also, there's two schools of thought here. The question, anybody can believe whatever they want to believe.
Yeah.
So if they're saying, oh yeah, well, she's a hypnotist, so she's putting me under and I'm making me feel better. I guess the point is, are you feeling better? I'm not using hypnosis at all when I'm doing this. I'm strictly going by the teachings of the Tong Ren and Tom Tam and what he's developed. We use nothing else. We have no music playing in the background. So it's entirely up to the person what they do or they don't believe. We believe because we've been cured of things. We believe because we've seen other people get cured of things. Is it the combination of? Is it a placebo effect? I don't know, but if they're cured or if they're feeling better, I don't question it.
And I will say that we do both use one other thing. We both are intuitive to the fact that sometimes when we're tapping on someone, we each will tell the other person we need to go to a certain area because we feel that area needs to be worked on. And that's just an intuitiveness that we both have. We have a wonderful practitioner down in Quincy, Rick Cluth, who specializes in cancer, and he just is very, very intuitive as far as where to go for the blockages. He was the one that worked on her neck.
He was my whiplash man.
So, so after going to him, instead of following the book, we do, if we feel as though we need to go and work on a certain area, we do that, but we're still just hitting the points that...
Because you might be aware that a number of healings from chiropractic to acupuncture and even massage, there's been a questioning by traditional or orthodox physicians who claim that it's not really a healing so much as it is a form of suggestion or hypnosis. They said the same thing in chiropractic, and partly I think some of that was because the chiropractor would say, well, you have a subluxation here and I'm going to do this and don't worry, and then they would do the manipulations. And the same thing with acupuncture, or more likely with massage, they would say, well, your muscles are tight and I'm going to need this and this will relax the muscles. And so they're actually giving you a slight suggestion that everything that is going to happen is going to be beneficial and work out. I have to say, though, that one chiropractor I went to, I came out feeling worse, and I kept going. He was the type that kept you coming every week and didn't alleviate the condition for which you went there for, which, under his theory, that was fine. So a friend of mine took me to another chiropractor, and he just took me in, but he wasn't exactly a traditionalist. He also used some points on the back, which were, I guess you'd call them acupressure or that type of thing, and he'd work on that, and it just healed me like that quickly.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Okay. If I go to you and you're a doctor and you give me a pill, I'm expecting that pill's going to make me better instantly.
Right.
You could be giving me a placebo, and I might get the same results. So what's the difference?
Yeah, and you also might have a pill that gives you a lot of bad side effects too.
That is
the
true.
Doctor says, well, and then they give you
most all the
3
medications have more side effects than they do actually benefits as far as that go. And both Lynn and I have gone to chiropractors, osteopaths, acupuncturists, massage therapists,
Tong Ren practitioners, Reiki practitioners, IET practitioners, anything that we teach together or that we practice in doing, we've also experienced as the client or the person being worked on. And I think it's really important to be in both places. It's important to have somebody work on you, whether it be Reiki, a massage therapist, Tong Ren, IET, and then go and teach. I think if you have never experienced the particular modality,
how can you teach it?
Yeah, and you need to have, like we just explained,
experience.
different experiences that we had. My foot whiplash, her COPD, her blood pressure medication. These are things that's only 2 of us and there's 4 things, and we're only talking a very small amount of time that we already have that kind of proof. So it's good to have the experience before you actually start doing, and we believe in that.
But even so, if a person embarks on the course of taking or becoming a healer of sorts, isn't there also a certain responsibility you have if you decide to work with people, that you have to maintain a certain ethical and moral standard?
Very definitely. And we're not really healers. We're facilitators helping you heal yourself. We don't claim to be healers. We're not.
Yeah. You see, that's what a lot of alternative medicines and healing therapies are. They're looked upon as means of just milking the public, taking money, or doing some nefarious activity.
Well, we do this and ask for donations only. If you come and you experience a healing and you don't want to put any money in, you can come. We're there for the hour and leave. We'd love to have anybody. We don't ask for any money. If you'd like to leave a donation, we appreciate it. And we do send a portion of all our donations to any of the local charities.
I see.
The other thing, too, is that one of the things that Edwina and I honestly feel with any of the modalities that we get involved in, we consider it an honor that you have chosen us to work with you. We're not fixing you, we're not healing you, we're working with you. We consider it a sacred bond that somebody actually comes in a vulnerable state and sits in front of us asking for us to work with them.
I see.
Therefore, there's no way we're going to do anything that would jeopardize that connection.
I see. So let me ask you this. You're not doing this as a full-time occupation. It's not really an occupation as
No.
such.
I'm just doing it because I know how beneficial it is, and I had several people, 3 or 4 people call me and say, where are your classes? And we didn't have any. So felt at that point that there was a need for it up in this area, and we needed to start it up. And if people want to come, we're glad to help them. If they think that we're crazy and they don't want to have anything to do with it, that's okay too, because that's their choice, you know?
We both have full-time jobs.
Yeah.
And as far as any of the things that I do or any of the things that Edwina does that we've learned and that we teach these things on the side. Again, we do at night or on weekends. And we do the Tong Ren, as she stated. Right now we're doing it in New London, and we're in the midst of working to do something in the Upper Valley. We're trying to negotiate a location right now. And again, you know, we do all of the work that we spent. We must have spent, man, I know there were probably at least 2 or 3 days I spent over 8 hours a day doing all of this.
Right.
And
This
we
is all at our
get
own
paid
expense.
nothing. So it's not like we're doing this to get rich. We're doing this because it's something that can help people.
And it's a need.
It's
we
a
feel
need.
it's a need in the community.
And now Tom Tam has established I would say at least a regional reputation, and perhaps across the country.
He's all over.
Yeah.
He's all over the world.
He gives. Oh, I see.
Yes,
so
he
gives
is. He's all over
seminars
the
and
world.
everything.
Yes.
So he
wants everybody.
He tries
He
to
wants
support
everyone.
all of his practitioners, all the people who are leading or taking these classes.
Yep.
And why did you call them guinea pig classes again? What was the explanation?
Because when he first started experimenting with it, he called it a guinea pig class. And in Chinese culture, once you name something that's successful, you shouldn't change the name. So he calls it a guinea pig class. They're all over the world. They're every day, every night of the week. I've gone down to Boston where Tom is. I've been there Christmas Eve, I've been there Easter, I've been there New Year's Eve, Thanksgiving, and if that's a night that's normally scheduled for him, he's there running classes. And Lynn and I we did our class on Father's Day. We realized that it was a holiday, but we're trying to follow in Tom's footsteps. That's what he does. He does this 7 days a week, and he's all over the world.
And he's so dedicated to it, and we've seen the work that he's done that we feel if we're going to do it. Edwina and I don't do anything halfway. So if we're going to do it, we're going to do it 100%.
Yeah.
So once we make the commitment that we do, as in New London, the 3rd Sunday of every month from 1 to 2, we're there the 3rd Sunday of every month from 1 to 2. If people show, that's great. And so far, we've always had somebody or a group of people showing.
Now I'd like to take you a little further afield, maybe into another area. But what you've told me is that by tapping on these dolls and these figures on certain points, you can affect, or there seems to be affected, a certain benefit or possible cure of certain illnesses or maladies that people have.
Well, more than a cure, we call it a release of a blockage.
Release, okay.
Yeah.
So by tapping these
to
points, no matter what point you're tapping, if a person has what they consider a pain condition or something, they will perhaps respond to it, or they may feel something, or they may feel it in another part of their body. But do most of the people attending actually feel something from that eventually?
I will say 80% feel it right then. Some people feel it within the next 24 to 48 hours.
And as Edwina had stated, she doesn't feel anything.
I never feel it.
So we don't expect you to feel anything. We expect you to react the normal way you react to energy. If you feel when energy work's being done on you, then you're going to feel something. If you don't, then you're not.
So I'm going to bring up an ethical question here. This is entitled The Ancient Art of Life and Death, the Book of Dim Mak.
Okay.
And I have a whole series of books in here that from different authors and different people. And their contention is that hitting or striking certain points on the body, many of them on the same meridians, the same spots that you're using for healing, can also cause injury and death. But a lot of them depend on making some sort of contact, although there are people that claim they can do that with slight or no touch at all. In other words, they can convey energies from their body and injure or kill a person, and kill from a distance. So what I'm asking you is, if some of these points that they have in here correspond to that, and a person who has that knowledge, could they use that hammer and that doll to actually kill somebody from a distance?
Personally, I would say that if somebody is doing Tong Ren and they're out there to help people, that would not play into any of it at all. There would not be any ethical question whatsoever, because we are there to help you heal your body.
Well,
And
why
most
I'm asking
everything
you,
is intent. In other words, when we tap on the doll and we're going to C3, there's no way when we're standing up there that we're going to hit C3 exactly. So most of it is intent, and the intention is pure, and the intention is to help someone.
Correct.
See, they have a number of points here. You can see they have some of these things in here. And according to this particular book, there are other variations, and there's certain times of
And
day.
just looking at some of the points quick, I
yeah.
see they asked some of the points that we use.
And some of the more elaborate things have time zones in them. And
Well, I'd like to challenge you to this. Can you name any one thing that any person has done that someone else has not had something bad to say about it? And
I can't,
I
really.
bet you can't.
No, I'm not going to try.
So
I just wanted to show you that.
Yeah, I think there's always going to be the naysayers.
This book was written by a friend of mine. It's the first book on acupuncture for self-defense. And the only reason I mention it is because he uses it for healing, but you can see that some of the points in Korean would correspond to that. Here's another book that does the same thing, but the one I'm looking for, I can't seem to find. Oh, no, that's not it. Where the hang is it? The reason I ask these questions is that it seems to me that there's a big interest in performing in martial artists doing this sort of thing, and what they, you can take a look at that, and they even have things where they try to knock somebody out by hitting certain points on the arm and everything, and there's been warnings about like hitting the carotid arteries and hitting other points which would set up or induce paralysis
kind of shocks
or unconsciousness.
paralysis,
And they're dangerous, and yet there are people going out and trying to teach this and set it up. So my concern was that if a person had access to, let's say, this type of knowledge, and then they came across the fact that
this can be done distance.
Yes.
I have no idea any more than they talk about people putting spells on someone or something.
Yes.
I don't buy into that. Everything that we do is pure, without harm to anyone, only beneficial. And I've never experienced anything on the chakra side, so I don't.
Yeah,
Well, as I had stated, anything that we do is for the person's highest good. If you're looking for their highest good, you're not going to be doing anything.
That's true.
And we have no right to say that I'm going to heal this thing right here. They're not going to have any more shoulder pain, so I'm healing this. They're feeling better because I'm doing it. No, that's not how we look at what we do. We're just the instrument. We're just helping to release something so that you can heal yourself. And I think the biggest word for us is that everything that we do is so that you can heal yourself. So there is no harm. Our intention is no harm. to anybody.
See, another reason I mention that is because Muck is considered the death touch, and you know, you've heard of Bruce Lee, and supposedly a number of people believe that he was actually touched or hit by somebody who was a rival or wanted him dead or whatever, and that's what happened, because his death was sort of mysterious in a way, and of course they said medical report was I think brain edema, something like swelling of the brain, and everything. So there are people out there that will misuse things, as you know, and that's
just like
why
people would put a spell on somebody or do something like that, but I have no personal knowledge of anything like that, and I don't buy into anything like that. I kind of try and keep everything that we work with pure, and that with the intention that it can only help them. There's no harm.
Right.
And
I mean, in anything that you name, there's people that misuse everything. In Tong Ren, anyone that we've had contact with, I have never seen anything but positive things come out of. There are going to be naysayers that say, oh yeah, what you're doing is nothing, it doesn't work. Well, if that's how they want to believe, or if they want to be closed-minded and not be open-minded and come in and try it, or go on the internet and have Tom or Rick or anybody else try it, for them, that's fine. Everybody is entitled to their own opinions.
And we have people that that we know that have serious medical conditions that we would love for them to come so that we could just try this, except that they don't believe in it, and they feel as though they want to go to the doctor, and they want to go in, and they want to have surgery, they want to be cut open and have it done that way. And you know what? We wish them the best. We send prayers their way for their speedy recovery, and that's fine if they don't like this or don't believe in this or don't want to have anything to do with it.
Well, some of that has to do with the fact they want an immediate cessation of pain or condition, and they don't want to take the steps which may be lengthy to achieve that, and also they don't want to change their lifestyles. They're, if they have liver trouble, they're consuming alcohol perhaps, or they have lung trouble and they're still smoking.
And I have seen people come into Tom's and have complete relief. I've seen people come in with a frozen shoulder, and he'll ask them, how far can you lift up your hand? And they'll go like that. And he'll say, okay, put it down, and he'll tap on them, and he'll say, now lift your hand, and they'll go, oh, wow, I don't have any pain. So I've seen it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So that's immediate, too.
That's okay. So I guess we're coming to the conclusion.
Do a demonstration.
Yeah, let's have a demonstration quick, and let's go out with a demonstration.
We're just going to put it with the lung problems, and the first point on it is a T3.
Okay.
So we would tap on this. You don't have to tap on it a real long time. Then you can go to the BL9, which is by the side of the ear.
CB17.
And I can see why you don't tap on the person, because of you need to be fairly accurate, because if you hit a vital point inadvertently, like on the throat, you could damage the carotid artery, for example.
Yep.
ST11.
I believe physicians touch the artery in order to lower blood pressure under some circumstances, especially when it's extremely high.
K25.
K25.
Now those are the main points, so if we had a large group of people in here, we would only touch those. However, we usually try to do all of the points, so we would then move on to the support points, which start at T1.
And it's amazing, you can have 2 practitioners or 20 practitioners in the room, and as they tap, they all tap in unison.
T2.
And before we sign off, I just want to ask you, what does Tong Ren mean? What does it refer to?
Tong Ren is the bronze man. Originally, the acupuncture doll was in bronze, and Tong Ren means bronze man, I believe, and that's where he got that name.
But it also can mean, I did a little research on it.
Okay. Probably know a lot more than I do.
Tong Pai means bronze medal.
Okay.
But tong can also mean copper, and in some cases it can mean brass. But there was also a glass man, and let's see, they call glasses boli in Chinese. At least I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. And Ren is man, but Ren Min can mean people. Ren can also mean person, and in some cases it can mean people. So it could be the bronze people, the bronze men, could be the copper men.
Right.
So it's interesting. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having
Nice
us.
seeing you, and take care.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Thank you very much. I guess we're on.